Live stream, everyone. Today I want to talk about the FSSP. Are they safe from the Vatican? And my answer is I'm not so sure. And I'm going to tell you why. So, the FSSP released a statement saying that they met with Pope Francis and he said, yeah, the Traditionis Custodes doesn't apply. Now, on Gloria TV, there was some interesting information here. They said that there is a gray area that remains. So they said Francis answered with a handwritten letter, and Father Paul Joseph, the French FSSP district superior, said he believes that Francis was truly touched by the history of the FSSP. The two priests who met with Pope Francis asked respectfully if this could be formalized, and Francis signed a decree on February 19th. The remaining gray area is for Father Paul Joseph, that the bishops who celebrate ordinations for the FSSP don't have the right to use the Pontificale Romanum. So they can't have anyone ordain their priests. So Francis said, oh yeah, it doesn't apply to you guys. Okay, well, what about the bishops? The FSSP doesn't have a bishop. So none of the bishops can ordain their priests, theoretically, unless they resist the Vatican. So that's a gray area. It's not a convenient area that remains, but also the FSSP theoretically couldn't open any new parishes either. I say theoretically because there are always bishops who could go against this unjust decree, as I've been saying, since it happened. He said, Father Paul Joseph said, however, the Pope has heard us speak joyfully about our future ordinations, and the position is clear on that side. Okay, so there's a lot of gray area. One thing I want to say, and this was actually brought up by a website, I think it's in Italian, but I translated it to English. The Vatican press office did not give the news. They did not give the news of this FSSP information. The Vatican news did not mention it, and neither did Osservatore Romano. Nobody got out of balance. Everyone is silent. The fact is that the decree with which the Pope exempted the FSSP from the obligation to apply and respect the motu proprio Traditionis Custodes is news that only the fraternity has spread. We think that it is a community of very serious and responsible people, and therefore we take for granted the announcement of the existence, complete with a papal signature and seal, of this decree for now, so reserved to appear almost clandestine. So there is no information, and these people who wrote the article, they said, we searched the archives of the Vatican website and found no trace of this very important document for the whole church. So until now, no one has been able to view at least one authorized copy of the document. So thank you everyone for joining. What would Juan Perón do? That's a good question, Andrew. Thank you for joining the live stream. And I think, so let me read a clip from this statement released by the FSSP. They said the Pope made it clear that institutes such as the Fraternity of St. Peter are not affected by the general provisions of the motu proprio Traditionis Custodes. That doesn't mean they're exempt from a future declaration, such as the expectation on Ash Wednesday. There's supposed to be a crackdown of Ecclesia Dei communities. I think a lot of people are celebrating, and they're saying, oh, the FSSP is exempt, all right, they're really excited about it, but the problem is, I wouldn't be too sure that this is the end. Like, I wouldn't be so sure that a document in the very near future isn't going to try to destroy the FSSP. I'm not, and I was talking about like the Doom Trads back in the day, but just under a year ago, I was talking about the Doom Trads. I was critical of them, and now I've become one. Because you look at what the Vatican stands for. Okay, what are they trying to do? What's the goal? Was the goal of Traditionis Custodes to crack down on diocesan priests only? If so, why did they wait for why did Pope Francis wait for 7 months to tell the FSSP, oh, these don't apply, these regulations don't apply to you? After a lot of bishops, they were hostile towards the FSSP, they kicked them out of the diocese, they tried to restrict them from administering sacraments. Don't you think if Pope Francis truly believed that Traditionis Custodes didn't apply to the FSSP, it would say in the document, this doesn't apply to Ecclesia Dei institutes? Don't you think it would say that? Or don't you think Archbishop Roach would have said that? But they didn't. In fact, Archbishop Roach, I believe, seemed to suggest that this also applied to Ecclesia Dei communities. So, this is, I'm saying, don't get so excited. Don't be excited about this, because I think Ash Wednesday, as the rumor goes, Ash Wednesday is going to crack down the Ecclesia Dei communities. A lot of people forgot about that. And maybe it's not going to happen. I don't know, but the rumor is that it will. So we'll see what happens. Now, in terms of the FSSP, are they in communion with Vatican II theology? Now, I want to go through this a little bit, because a lot of people say, "Oh, the documents of Vatican II are awesome," and I want to see if these documents, if the FSSP is in compliance, or if they're following the documents of Vatican II. And so I'm going to Sacrosanctum Concilium. I'm going to read through some of these, and you let me know, what do you think? Do you think the FSSP is fully in line with Vatican II? And this isn't about the SSPX or anything. We'll just take the FSSP, just on the surface, what you know about them. Sacrosanctum Concilium, and I did some reading on this Vatican II document, and a lot of people, they talk about Vatican II and they say, oh, we need to defend Vatican II, you can't be out of line. Okay, well, tell me what you think what these mean, and especially for like modernist bishops, what do they think these documents, how do they interpret it? Or even just like, your typical Novus Ordo bishop, how do they interpret it? Sacrosanctum Concilium 21. In order that the Christian people may more certainly derive an abundance of graces from the sacred liturgy, Holy Mother Church desires to undertake with great care a general restoration of the liturgy itself. Do you think the FSSP is in line with that? For the liturgy is made up of immutable events divinely instituted and of elements subject to change. These not only may, but ought to be changed with the passage of time if they have suffered from the intrusion of anything out of harmony with the inner nature of the liturgy or have become unsuited to it. So these not only may, but ought to be changed. I don't know. Okay, 23. That sound tradition may be retained, and yet the way to remain open to legitimate progress, careful investigation is always to be made into each part of the liturgy which is to be revised. So they're talking about revising the liturgy. Does the FSSP stand for that? This investigation should be theological, historical, and pastoral. Also, the general laws governing the structure and meaning of the liturgy must be studied in conjunction with the experience derived from recent liturgical reforms and from the indults conceded to various places. I really don't like the sound of that. Finally, there must be no innovations unless the good of the Church genuinely and certainly requires them, and care must be taken that any new forms adopted should in some way grow organically from the forms already existing. So this actually seems to contradict the Novus Ordo. No innovations unless the good of the Church genuinely and certainly requires them. You can see how the modern bishops and cardinals interpreted that. The good of the church, they would say the good of the church certainly requires that we radically change the liturgy. As far as possible, notable differences between the rites used in adjacent religions must be carefully avoided. Notable differences between the rites used in adjacent religions. What is adjacent religions? Protestants? Isn't the Novus Ordo very similar to the Cranmer rite of the Protestants? This is really, yeah. Okay, so you could say, all right, well, they weren't in line with Vatican II. And there's a lot, there are people that say, oh, Vatican II was not implemented as the Council Fathers intended. Well, stay tuned. So we're moving on. Wherefore, in the revision of the liturgy, the following general norms should be observed. 34. The rites should be distinguished by a noble simplicity. They should be short, clear, and unencumbered by useless repetitions. They should be within the people's powers of comprehension and normally should not require much explanation. So dumb it down. Dumb it down for the dumb people. And guess what? The dumb people bought into it. The rites should be distinguished by a noble simplicity. Unencumbered by useless repetitions. So Kyrie eleison. So when you say Kyrie eleison 3 times, Christe eleison 3 times, and Kyrie eleison 3 times, that's useless repetition. Well, that's what they think. Man, if they went to the Byzantine rite, oh boy, they would be horrified. Okay, and this is very, very bad. The Confiteor. I think the Confiteor before communion is really good. But apparently they didn't like it. 35. The intimate connection between words and rites may be apparent in the liturgy. Okay. Number 35. So let me read this in context. Wherefore, in revision of the liturgy, the following general norms should be observed. That the intimate connection between words and rites may be apparent in the liturgy. Number 3, under 35. Instruction which is more explicitly liturgical should also be given in a variety of ways. If necessary, short directives to be spoken by the priest or proper minister should be provided within the rites themselves. But they should occur only at more suitable moments and be in prescribed or similar words. We see that in the new rite of baptism. Or similar words. You can say whatever you want. But short directives to be spoken by the priest. So he can say, you may be seated. Please stand. And now we will hear a reading from the gospel. And what else? And now, please be seated for the offertory as people process up with the gifts. And so you can see how this is the Vatican II document. It's saying that the priest can't, and so it basically opened the door wide open. It opened the door the whole way for liturgical abuse. Number 36, in number 1, particular law remaining in force, the use of Latin language is to be preserved in the Latin rites. Awesome. And the FSSP would certainly be in full agreement with that. Number 37, even in a liturgy, the Church has no wish to impose a rigid uniformity in matters which do not implicate the faith or the good of the whole community. Did you notice a buzzword there? Rigid. The Church has no wish to impose a rigid uniformity. Okay, so right under where it says Latin, the use of the Latin language is to be preserved, it says the Church does not wish to impose a rigid uniformity. Wow. Rather does she respect and foster the genuine talents of the various races and peoples. Anything in these people's way of life which is not indissolubly bound up with superstition and error, she studies with sympathy, and if possible, preserves intact. Sometimes, in fact, she admits such things into the liturgy itself, so long as they harmonize with its true and authentic spirit. Oh my. Oh my goodness. What do you think about that? Um, they're adapting the liturgy to each culture. This is right below where it says the Latin language is to be preserved. So they weren't. What did the Council Fathers intend? What do you think they intended by saying this? They said, oh, let me tip my hat to the use of the Latin language. Now let's move on. That's exactly what they intended. 38. Provisions shall be made when revising liturgical books for legitimate variations and adaptations to different groups, regions, and peoples, especially in mission lands, provided that the substantial unity of the Roman Rite is preserved, and this should be borne in mind when drawing up the rites and devising rubrics. Okay, so after hearing this, number 38 in Sacrosanctum Concilium, you can see why the Amazonian Rite, I don't think it has been officially established yet, but you remember the Amazonian Rite at the Amazon Synod that they wanted to create and they brought in the Pachamamas? Sacrosanctum Concilium seems to tip its cap to ideas like that. Number 40, in some places and circumstances, however, an even more radical adaptation of the liturgy is needed, and this entails greater difficulties. Wow. So this is all right under Latin is to be preserved. And now they're talking about radically adapting the liturgy. Is the FSSP in line with that? Nope. No, they are not. What about the Novus Ordo being the exclusive right of, or the Novus Ordo being the exclusive, what's it called? It's not the rite. The exclusive liturgy of the Roman Rite. That's what Pope Francis said. Okay, this is just shaking my head here because, you look at what the FSSP, the Latin Mass isn't at all in conformity with Vatican II. Okay, Kansas City Royals. Well, I know that in the FSSP at TLM, when they do the gospel in English, the deacon or priest says, please stand for the gospel. Sometimes they might say today's epistle is Corinthians, never say sit. Okay. Ordinary form. Ordinary. Well, what about the radical adaptations? Is that the ordinary form as well? Or is that the, heretical form? I don't know. We're going to fast forward ahead to 114. The sacred music. Let's talk about sacred music. If you go to an FSSP parish, you might hear some sacred music. You're not going to hear all or welcome. 114. The treasure of sacred music is to be preserved and fostered with great care. Choirs must be diligently promoted, especially in cathedral churches, but bishops and other pastors of souls must be at pains to ensure that, whenever the sacred action is to be celebrated with song, the whole body of the faithful may be able to contribute that with active participation, which is rightly theirs, as laid down in Articles 28 and 30. Okay, so here's some buzzwords. And the entire body of the faithful may be able to contribute. Okay, they can. They can sing along. No one's telling them not to. Number 115. Great importance is to be attached to the teaching and practice of music in seminaries, in the novitiates and houses of study of religious of both sexes, and also in other Catholic institutions and schools. To impart this instructions, teachers are to be carefully trained and put in charge of the teaching of sacred music. Okay, so this is one of these are two of the clips of Vatican II Sacrosanctum Concilium where people say, oh, see? Sacred music is to be preserved. All right. 116. The Church acknowledges Gregorian chant as specifically suited to the Roman liturgy. Therefore, other things being equal, it should be given pride of place in liturgical services. Aha! There you go, 116. And that's one that people quote all the time, right below it. But other kinds of sacred music, especially polyphony, are by no means excluded from liturgical celebrations so long as they accord with the spirit of liturgical action as laid down in Article 30. All right, let's drop down to 119 and see what this has to say, because that sounds good. I agree. Excellent. 119. In certain parts of the world, especially mission lands, there are peoples who have their own musical traditions, and these play a great part in their religious and social life. I don't like the way this is going. For this reason, due importance is to be attached to their music, and a suitable place is to be given to it, not only in forming their attitude towards religion, but also in adapting worship to their native genius, as indicated in Articles 39 and 40. So what it's saying is, oh, sacred music is excellent, and it goes on for a while with that. Instructors in seminaries must be very well trained in sacred music. Great. All right. And then, but if we're going to the Amazon, then, they have their own native genius, and religion, music is a great part of their religious and social lives. They have their own musical traditions. All right, so you're telling me that the pagans who sing songs, if they dance around and drum on their drums and smoke their peace pipes, and they sing these native songs to the god, to the rain, I don't know, they do the rain dance for the weather god, or the sun god, or the god of the sea, or whatever. Then we just need to adapt our songs to that? Really? Vatican II is awesome. If you read the documents, they're awesome. This isn't what what we see in the Novus Ordo isn't at all what the founding fathers of Vatican II intended. Come on, due importance is attached to the music of the pagans, but a suitable place is to be given to it, not only informing their attitude towards religion, but also adapting to their native genius. Really? Does that sound Catholic to you? Do you think the FSSP agrees with that? Therefore, when missionaries are being given training in music, every effort should be made to see that they become competent in promoting the traditional music of these peoples, both in schools and sacred services, as far as may be practicable. So you're going into the Amazon, you're going to have an Amazonian rite, and every effort should be made to see that the missionaries become competent in promoting the traditional music of these peoples. So you have your rain dance song, and that's every effort should be made to promote it. Wow. This is in Vatican II, everyone. You can see how the current Vatican, you can see how the current Novus Ordo are completely in line with this. Are the FSSP in line with this? Is the Latin Mass in line with this? 120. In the Latin Church, the pipe organ is to be held in high esteem, for it is the traditional musical instrument which adds a wonderful splendor to the Church's ceremonies and powerfully lifts up man's mind to God and to higher things. I like it. I like the pipe organ. What about you? I'm sure you do. I think it's great. But other instruments may also be admitted for use in divine worship, with the knowledge and consent of the competent territorial authority as laid down in several articles. This may be done, however, only on condition that the instruments are suitable or can be made suitable for sacred use, in accord with the dignity of the temple, and truly contribute to the edification of the faithful. So, you can use any other instruments. What about Father Whoever, who blessed people with his guitar? You can have your guitar masses because the instrument can be made suitable for sacred use, right? Okay, so what is the FSSP? Are they fully in line with Vatican II? Are they going to do any of this stuff? Probably not. But as you were listening through this, can you think of why a lot of people would be skeptical of Vatican II. Father Monsignor Charles Pope used the words weaponized ambiguity to describe Vatican II, and you can see why. I think the problem is you can't quote Vatican II to defend the Catholic faith. You just can't, because you look at this, and it says something good. It says something really good, and then below it says something very modernist, and it just goes back and forth, and there you go. You can't reconcile it. You just can't. And the FSSP aren't going to be able to do that. What are they going to do? Have guitar masses? To be fully in compliance with Traditionis Custodes and the Second Vatican Council, the FSSP is going to have to compromise. I don't think they're going to, I don't know. I don't think they want to do it. And as far as the FSSP goes, we don't have anything from the Vatican. So what does this mean for the future of the FSSP? I don't know. They could very quickly have a crackdown, and that's that. Is it going to be on the Ash Wednesday document? I have no idea. I don't know. We'll see. That's in a week. Less than a week. If it comes and goes, then, I bought into the rumors and they were wrong. So that'll be, I've been kind of banking on this rumor for a while that it's true. Not banking on it, but I've been talking about it. So if it's wrong, then I can get on here and, I'm not going to eat crow, but I can definitely say, hey, I was wrong. I'll admit it. You can call me out if you want. It's good. Keep me honest, right? All right, anyway, that's it. That's all I have today. Thank you so much for watching. We are the laity, and we will not be silent.